When it comes to just playing video games and having fun, I truly believe that any working, functional video game console is more than good enough to get the job done. But for most people out there right now, and I would say the average consumer looking to buy a new console, I truly believe the Nintendo Switch 2 is the best option out there, and I would even go as far as saying that it's the only must-buy console on the market right now, and I believe it will remain that way even in the future. Now, the first point that I have to mention when it comes to the Switch 2 being the best console you can buy and the only must-buy console right now and in the future is definitely the price point. Right now in the US, you can still get one for just $450. If you can easily afford to get one right now, maybe you should, because the price will be going up to $500 on September 1st, and other regions have already got price hikes, but so have all the other consoles like the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles. And the way the prices are looking right now, the Nintendo Switch 2 is definitely the most affordable option where you can play tons of games. The Nintendo Switch 2 is also much more affordable than all your handheld PCs that are currently on the market. A lot of those are starting to get very expensive and unaffordable now for a lot of people. But when it comes to buying video game consoles, of course the reason why we buy them is for the games. And I want to break that down in every way possible when it comes to the offerings of games that the Nintendo Switch 2 has to offer, because I truly believe it has the most options out there for everyone. And of course, it blows the other competitors out of the water when it comes to the Nintendo exclusives. And one trend that I've been really glad to see on YouTube is that a lot of content creators who are starting to get back into Nintendo, or maybe get into Nintendo for the first time, and that they thought that all these Nintendo games were just a bunch of, kid slop little kiddie games, are starting to realize that they're not, and that a lot of these Nintendo exclusives, while they may look silly and quirky and funny, can actually be really challenging, and probably too challenging for a lot of kids to actually be able to beat. And for those who aren't in the know, Nintendo also does have their own first-party series and rights to some series that aren't just made for kids, like Xenoblade, Fire Emblem, and even the Bayonetta games, Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta 3, Bayonetta Origins. And as a fan of Nintendo and just video games in general, one thing that I find really exciting about the Nintendo Switch 2 is that we already have a really good amount of exclusives, and we haven't even gotten most of the biggest video game exclusives from Nintendo yet, like 3D Mario, like a new The Legend of Zelda game, like a Splatoon 4 game, like a new Animal Crossing game. So the Nintendo Switch 2 generation is just getting started, and we already have so many great games and so many more that are going to be coming. And of course, with the recent announcement with Sony, with how they're going to discontinue physical video games, one advantage that you still have on Nintendo Switch 2 is that you can still actually buy true physical games that are complete on the cartridge. You can pop them right into your console with no internet connection, no downloads required, and play them just how the console experience is supposed to be. And yes, I know game key cards are a thing that a lot of people don't like, but even those at least offer you a little bit more ownership than just all digital, because you can still trade them, you can still sell them, you can still lend them to a friend, take them to a friend's house, play it on their console, pretty much do whatever you want to do with them. Of course, we don't know what will happen with them if the servers get shut down in the future, but that is going to be a long time from now, I would think. And these game key cards still at least exist on the free market, where these can go on clearance, these can go on sale. They're not tied to a digital storefront where Sony, Nintendo, or Xbox can keep the game up there for full price forever and you don't have an option to go search around. That's one of the great things about the Nintendo Switch 2, that you can also play all the Switch 1 games on it. You have that whole library there ready. You can buy games used, you can get them for cheap, you can get them on clearance. You have tons of options as far as buying video games on the Switch 2. And also, just a quick side note, I do want to shout out NIS America for giving me this free key card since I'm holding it up, because I was having fun playing it and I will be finishing it and talking about it in the future, Disgaea Mayhem. But moving on from the keycard discussion, we are actually starting to see a lot more third-party publishers and developers put their games onto actual physical cartridges for the Nintendo Switch 2, which is great that it gives us that option that we're wanting on this console. Another point that I want to mention about third-party games on the Nintendo Switch 2 is that this is the first time a Nintendo console has really had full third-party support since the Super Nintendo. I would say with every Nintendo console, you would pretty much always kind of feel left out because all the other big third-party games always came out on PlayStation, on Xbox, and you would pretty much miss out on stuff like GTA if you were stuck on a Nintendo console. And while the Switch 2 still doesn't have all of that, it really is shaping up to be a console that is going to have pretty much every game you're going to want to be able to play. Even Call of Duty is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. I would say right now, pretty much any genre of game you want to play, you can pretty much play most of those games there already. But with first-person shooters, that has been a little bit behind, but even that is going to be coming to the Nintendo Switch 2. Another great option when it comes to buying and playing games on the Nintendo Switch 2 is that it is a region-free console everywhere outside of Japan, so you can play games from other regions if it's a European copy, if it's an Asian, Japanese copy, as long as it supports English, you can play it on your Nintendo Switch 2 and enjoy it fully, and it gives you more buying options that way as well. And I would even say that the Nintendo Switch 2 is one of your best options as far as playing retro games. Everyone knows that the retro game market has got ridiculously expensive, but on the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2, you have so many retro game compilations that are coming out that are much cheaper than going back and buying those original games and consoles. And even though you don't own the games on there, the Nintendo Switch Online service is still a great option for playing and enjoying retro video game consoles. You have everything from the NES, N64, GameCube, Sega Genesis, a lot for retro game enthusiasts to enjoy on there. And one advantage that the Nintendo Switch 2 has over every other console and even over every other handheld PC on the market is that it offers the best, most seamless hybrid console experience. You can play this however you want, whenever you want. You can play it on your TV, on the dock in 4K with great frame rates. You can even play it on handheld where it still looks great. 1080p can still deliver up to 120 frames per second frame rates on some games, and it just offers you that flexibility to just play while you're waiting at the barber shop. If you're a dad like me who has multiple kids, you can just be sitting on the couch right here playing it. Oh, one of the kids is crying, I gotta go see what's happening. I just press the button, put it right down, and when I'm ready, I can come right back up to it, play it however I want. No other console or handheld PC out there offers you that flexibility like the Nintendo Switch and Switch 2 consoles do. Even with something like a Steam Deck, you can't be sitting there playing your Steam Deck and portable and all of a sudden your friend comes over and you just put it right on your TV and you're enjoying multiplayer. That's something that only the Nintendo Switch 2 offers you. Another great advantage that the Switch 2 has, I would say, over handheld PCs is that all the games are fully made and optimized for the Switch 2. Yes, stuff like the Steam Deck does have deck verified games and other handheld PCs have games that are optimized for them, but a lot of times with a handheld PC, you're gonna have to do some level of tinkering and optimizing to get those games running good on those systems, whereas the Nintendo Switch 2, everything is just there ready for you to go, just to pick up and play. I want to make a few more points about Nintendo exclusive games to wrap this video up, and one thing that I want to mention is that Nintendo just has so much variety in the types of games they make. They have shooters like Splatoon, they have platformers like Mario and Kirby, they have these big action-adventure open-world games like modern Zelda games, they give you the top-down 2D Zelda games, they give you unique, weird games that you don't see anywhere else like Rhythm Heaven Groove, which is a really fun game, especially the multiplayer. They still believe investing even in Metroid, which has never sold more than 3 million copies. And another thing that I want to mention is that a lot of these games still have the magic of these passionate developers who actually love making video games, who have been here since the beginning, since the Nintendo, since the Super Nintendo. And a lot of these guys are probably going to unfortunately pass on after the Switch 2 generation, possibly before it, and or retire. So the fact that we still have these developers giving us this magic behind these Nintendo exclusives, to me, is definitely exciting and something that I just can't afford to miss out on as a fan of video games in general. But thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it and you'd like to keep me in your algorithm, please hit the like button, hit the hype button, and I'll definitely look forward to catching you on the next one.